What's going on, nerds? Welcome back to Comic Book Nerd Nation, episode 108. I'm Fox2. We got Pirate,
Hello.
Sith Lord Topher, and the whole effing Brian.
Something else does that when I get excited.
Wow. Okay, so as we're recording this, it is just a few days after, 2 days after Star Wars The Force Awakens has opened in theaters, and we're just going to put it out there. There's going to be spoilers. We're going to talk about Star Wars. If you haven't seen it yet and you don't want to hear any spoilers, don't listen to this episode until you've watched it. We're going to be talking about what we think about different plot points, different characters, the outcome of the movie, basically the whole fucking movie. We're going to be discussing likes and dislikes, everything in between. So now's your last chance. Definitely spoiler alert. Let's just jump right in. Brian, let's start with you.
Why can't we? Why do we have to jump in? Why can't we run right into it?
Let's run right into this shit.
Okay, that's better.
Why
I
can't
fucking
we-
love.
Why can't we force leap into
Why
it?
can't we force leap? I don't know.
Or push ourselves to it.
Fush
Push push.
Force
Yeah.
push.
Push.
That's a
Fist
push push.
I don't know what a fush push is.
Push me.
Sounds fun.
Is it like when you? I don't know. Never mind. Rock lobster.
Rock lobster.
Called it. No, it doesn't
Damn.
count if he calls it.
Straight
Doesn't
called it
count.
on himself even.
Okay,
Your
so I fucking.
hat is wigging me out right now. I just want to.
I told you.
I
Yeah,
didn't,
but I don't
have-
I didn't notice. Like, oh man, that's really awkward. I don't like it.
What? Why don't you like it?
I
It's
just-
a lightsaber.
the-
It's a lightsaber
the-
Mets hat. That's
the
awesome.
blur on the one side makes me
trying
feel
to
like
choke
he's
you.
like lagging or something. That's really strange.
Lag.
Maybe
My
it's your brain
hat's
is
lagging.
lagging. Trying to look at his
lag
hat.
master flex.
I'm
Anyway,
having the same problem with it, but it's fine.
This is your brain. This is your brain on legs. Any questions?
yeah.
On lags. On
So-
lags.
So, what do you think of the movie?
I fucking loved it. I thought it was better than anticipated.
Out of
Well, out of 10, I give
out
it
of
11.
10. Really? So
Wow.
it's better than perfect.
Um,
Best
I
movie
mean,
of all time, essentially, is what you're saying.
He didn't say it was
I-
an exclusive
I-
10.
I mean, yeah, I mean,
Well, if it's out
My-
of 10 and you
I
rated
think-
11, that's pretty exclusive.
I mean, I didn't. This is the only movie I didn't want to watch any. Besides the first like 2 or 3 trailers, I didn't watch anything. I didn't read any hype or anything or stuff like that. I just left it alone until I saw it, and
Alright.
I thought it was. It fucking gave me a nerd boner and
Before we-
ignited my dick saber.
Before we start breaking down and getting into like the finer points of the movie, let's kind of find out what each person rates the movie as a whole. What about you, Topher? Out of 10, where would you put it? Did you like it? How did you feel about the movie?
I thought it was pretty terrible. Honestly, it was. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, it was fucking great. I didn't think it could. I was wondering how it could live up to the hype. There's just been so much build up for this. It's like the prequels kind of fell flat in a lot of people's eyes, and now you've got the first new movie after those, and possibly the first good movie in 40 years, and there's just so much riding on it, and they've got all these tie-ins and all these comics and commercials and just so much shit, and it's like, how could this possibly live up to the hype? And somehow it did, and that's fucking incredible. So yeah, I'm giving it a tentative 10 out of 10 because it was really fucking good.
10 out of 10. All right.
My whole thing, I'm interested to see how it holds up, because for me, the strength of a movie is whether a year from now, I still want to, when I'm
Watch
just
it
sitting
again.
here, and I'm like, oh, I'm going to do something, but I kind of want some background noise. What should I put on in the background? There's like a handful of movies that like are my go-to. Like I could just watch this over and over and put it on in the background and just watch this all damn day. And, I'm interested to see how it holds up in that test. Some great movies have sometimes failed that for me, but I got good hopes for this one.
Okay, so 11 out of 10 for Brian, 10 out of 10 from Topher. What about you, Pirate?
I'm gonna go at 9.5.
9.5. Okay.
Only because of the deaths. That's it.
Okay.
It would have been a 10, but then it kind of pissed me off. Even though I knew it was probably going to happen, it still kind of pissed me off.
All right. I again will be the lone wolf on this one. It looks like I liked the movie a lot. I really did. I don't think it was the best Star Wars film by any stretch of the imagination.
I mean, Phantom Menace was better.
I don't think it.
Psych.
I know. No, let's clarify there. It's better than Phantom Menace for sure. There were definitely things that, I'll talk about it, and I'm sure I'll take a lot of shit, and that's fine. There were things that I didn't like about the movie. There was a lot of stuff that I really loved about the movie, so they kind of played off of each other. I would give this movie like a 9. Maybe an 8.75.
So you're not that much out of not that much the Lone Wolf.
No, I mean, like I said,
Yeah.
I like the movie. I really like the movie. There was some things that really, to me, pulled me out of the experience of watching the movie just because of how it was done.
A 9 out of 10 is still like fucking amazing.
Okay, well then maybe I wouldn't. Then maybe more along the lines of an 8 out of 10 is truthfully how I'm feeling.
I mean, I do have some criticisms about some things, so like I waffled between a 9 and a 10, but the fact that it lived up to the expectations, and that's just so hard to do. I rounded up.
For example, to kind of kick things off, one of the areas of disappointment for me was the just blatant similarities between this movie and A New Hope. There were so many things that were, to me, distractingly similar to A New Hope that it was like they were trying to. Obviously, they wanted to align themselves with episodes 4, 5, and 6 more than episodes 1, 2, and 3. For good reason. They were much better films. But it really looked like they just took some of the stuff out of episode 4 and redid it and put it into this movie and then wrote a story around it. To me, that's how a lot of it felt. Like, the whole bit about the parentless eventual hero living on a desert planet and befriending a droid that happens to have the data that will save the rebellion. Like, that's the entire fucking plot from the first movie. Like, that's literally the entire fucking first half of the movie. Then you've got the fucking trench run. That's basically a fucking shot-for-shot remake of fucking A New Hope when they're taking down the Death Star, like almost exactly. The whole fucking breakdown scene where they've got the schematic and here's the one weak point, like, again, same fucking thing. The shield generator situation, same fucking thing. Actually,
the shield generator was
Return of the
Jedi, right? And then to me, the whole like mission briefing scenario where they were like, here's the Death Star, and it's like, wow, and then they're like, here's the super ultra mega Death Star, it's like 3 times bigger. It just felt fucking like, really, like that's, so we're supposed to be more scared of it just because it's physically larger.
and
Like
it
you can't come up
powers
with
up from a sun.
you can't like come up with any kind of additional like you're taking the same thing that's already been done multiple times and doing it again, just making it physically larger. Essentially, it's not necessarily any more dangerous, and we're supposed to be more petrified of it because it's just physically larger. You know what I mean? Like I don't know. Like I'm scared of somebody hitting me with a hammer, but that doesn't mean I'm more afraid of bigger hammers. Like I just, you know what I'm saying? Like I don't know that.
Well, I mean, it was more powerful. Like it was stationary. It never went anywhere. It just drawed off a sun.
Return of the Jedi.
Huh?
Return of the Jedi. That one wasn't. That one was stationary as well.
Yeah, that's only because they were fucking building it.
Yeah, Return of the Jedi. It was. It wasn't finished, but at Empire Strikes Back, or not Empire, but A New Hope, it was. You can
yes,
move
it
it.
was mobile. Yes.
Yeah, but it drew power from the sun. It could take out an entire like system of planets, not just one. I mean, it's pretty a little bit more than a bigger hammer.
Okay,
So-
a little bit, but
So, as a counterpoint, what would you have liked to have seen them do in terms of a large scale threat? That because here's the problem, Mace. You have to do something that rivals the threat level of the original movies, or it falls short. But you can't escalate it. You can't do the whole like power creep thing where you just make everything, like ridiculously more powerful so that the Death Star pales in comparison to whatever they do as a threat in this movie, because you don't want to diminish the original trilogy
why
that
not?
you're trying
With
to.
scalability of time, why couldn't you do that? You know what I'm saying? Like guns now are far more powerful than they were 30 years ago.
Well,
30
and that's
years before that, those guns were more powerful than those. You know what I'm saying?
right.
Like,
Well, but that's what they did though. They took the concept that was started in the original trilogy with the Death Star, and they kind of took it to a logical development beyond that,
I mean,
rather than trying to, just come up with some like gigantic thing that destroys entire
I
universes.
see that, but
or
like, I think I
it's-
would have ultimately preferred to see a movie where the climactic battle scene really wasn't the rebels trying to defend their home base planet against a space station that can take out a fucking planet. Like that, I mean, it's literally like point for point. Like when you write down the plot points of that scenario, it's the same exact third act. Just if you take out the whole Kylo Ren and Rey thing, the whole rebel versus evil thing, the good versus bad of the starships and all that, the space fight is the same third act as the first movie. It really is.
Well, it's the same thing in Return
I
of
was
the
just
Jedi.
gonna say,
too.
are you critiquing Return of the Jedi at this point, or
Because they did the
or
same
Force
thing.
Awakens?
The Return of the Jedi though, they weren't under attack. They went out and sought out the Death Star and stopped it. They weren't the Death Star wasn't closing in, counting down to destroy the rebel home base.
So it's kind of a mix of A New Hope and Return of the Jedi, because the
They
base
did
didn't
go
come to them. They were
Yeah.
just using the laser to shoot at them. They had to go seek out the base to stop the laser. So it's kind of both plot points of stopping the base.
I mean, a little
is
bit,
one.
yeah, I guess, but it just, to me, it felt. I mean, it felt down to the little plot points on that. It felt like it was just like, wow, okay, how can we make this movie successful? Well, episode 1, 2, and 3 fucking sucked. Nobody liked those, and everybody bitched about them. Well, everybody really liked episodes 4, 5, and 6, so maybe we should take stuff from 4, 5, and 6, put it into this movie and then write a fucking script around it.
Yeah,
Like, I mean, that's
yeah, and it was great. Like I see what you're saying, and while I was
I mean, if
sitting in
this
the
was
theater,
anything other than Star Wars, how would you feel about that? If it was anything other than something that was so precious to your childhood, I would bet my bottom dollar people would be outraged at the fact that they just took like 2 older movies and fucking just redid some scenes from them and called it a plot.
I'm going to disagree again. I know, big shocker. But it's hard to say do this with another movie, because how many times do you get a movie sequel to a trilogy from 40 years ago, almost 40 years ago, that has this much hype around it? You know, like how many movie franchises are still able to do something like this? Like this, it's unprecedented in a lot of ways. I mean, you've got long-running series like, you know, like the James Bond films, you know, but how many do you have where there's a set of movies from a long time ago, you know, Galaxy 444 here before somebody says it, and you're trying to do new ones decades later
Now,
and
in all
have them
fairness,
be
there
able
was
to.
3 other ones made between.
I'm aware of that.
Okay,
Yeah,
I know.
we don't
You
like
can't
to
just
think
say it
about
was
that.
30 years. You know, you can't just say 30 years
Right.
ago, because there was 3 other films made in between.
Yeah, and they tried to do something different with those, and they fell flat on their fucking faces in a lot of people's eyes. Like, I still like the prequel trilogies. The prequel trilogy. It's not as good, but I still enjoy it, probably because it's Star Wars, you know. And I see what you're saying. You know, would I like it if it was anything other than Star Wars? I mean, look at some other franchises like Terminator or I don't know. Like, I'm trying to think of other movies. Die Hard, you know, that like had great movies a long time ago, and then like they try and do a follow up later on, and you know, a lot of them just.
Die Hard's a good example. Like, they tried to do like one of the more recent Die Hards, and they tried to do it pretty similar to one of the early ones, and it was fucking awful.
Yeah, you know, so
Die Hard,
like,
not Star Wars.
you know, like
That's my point.
but I honestly didn't think that paralleled the original at all. It was just a terrible fucking movie. You know, like I feel like they were in a no-win situation here, and they managed to turn it into a win. Like
What?
I see what you.
How do you figure making a new Star Wars movie is a no-win situation?
Well, okay, see, because
I think that's a win-win situation. No matter what you do, people are gonna
bitch.
yeah,
about
that's what they said before the Phantom Menace too.
and the people saw it. People saw
Okay,
it. It made a bunch of money. It was
I'm not
successful.
okay, but we're not critiquing this from a business standpoint. We're not fucking
Okay,
movie
I see
theater
what you're
executives saying,
Okay, I see
you know,
what you're
as
saying.
a fan evaluating it for how well it will be accepted by the fans and loved as a part of the franchise for years to come. You know, like it was very hard for them to win here, because the situation you're facing is you can never make a movie that's new that has built-in nostalgia. It's like impossible. You can't. The biggest knock against this movie is that it's new. When you try and compare it to the original trilogy and the way that they did things, it will never be as good, because it's almost 40 years newer, and it's going to be different. You're not going to have decades of nostalgia around it. Not everything's just going to immediately fit in and like be accepted in your mind and heart as part of, you know, that universe and that story. Like it's really hard to do that. So like no matter what they did, if they change it and go in a completely different direction, people it's not going to mesh with what your thought of Star Wars should be that's been ingrained in everybody's heads for decades. And if they do something similar, you know, you run the risk of people thinking it's a ripoff, or, you know.
I guess I just would have liked to see some kind of some kind of different main threat. Like, for example, okay, take Episode 1. We can all agree that that's not our favorite Star Wars. Sure. But one of the things that was really attractive about that movie and that was really entertaining about that movie is the fact that the main threat was something different. It was Darth Maul. It was a lightsaber that was not a sword, it was a bow staff. It was, the double-bladed lightsaber. He was the main threat. There wasn't, I don't know. Just to me, having a different twist on that would have added another level. Like I said, I like the movie. That was one of the things that was just distracting to me, because when I was watching those scenes of them trying to take down, I don't even know, I just call it Super Mega Death Star. I don't even remember what it was called exactly.
Star Killer
Base.
Okay, so when they were trying to take down Star Killer Base and they're going through the trench run, unfortunately, I couldn't enjoy that moment. It didn't have that climactic, yes moment for me, because I was pulled away thinking about, like, wow, this is really just like when Luke was, going through there and Vader was chasing it. This is exactly like A New Hope.
Let me ask you this, though. Like, I get it, because I had those thoughts a couple times during the movie, but I feel like I appreciated what they did there, in that, like, I liked that they were trying to tell a somewhat parallel story. Like, I thought it kind of added to it in a way that this movie paralleled Luke's journey so much from the original one. Like, I obviously you can call that, derivative at worst, but at best, like, you've got a universe that's based on, the will of the Force, and people being, these giant cosmic events, and people being drawn to each other across the galaxy, and like these epic things that happen. And I just feel like this movie did a really good job of paralleling that, and it almost felt like, fate and destiny that were bringing these things together, and this would follow that course of the storyline. Was like not only a tribute to the original movie from a meta perspective, but within the story made sense in that would be the, that it's a logical progression of things in that universe for those characters to take, because of their legacy, and because of, just, I don't know. I liked it. I thought it worked out of the story and in the story. And let me ask you a question, Fox. Like, at any point, there were definitely parallels, but it was not the same story to me, because the characters are different and the details of those events were different. Yes, obviously you could draw parallels, like that was done on purpose, but at any point did you know what was going to happen in the movie that you wouldn't have known just from watching this movie? Like, from watching, like, at any point did you say, "Oh, I know what happens to this character. I know what happens here." Like this outcome is already basically predetermined,
knew that
because of the fact that it parallels the first movie.
Yeah, for sure, 100%. You knew that the Star Destroyer base was going to get blown up.
And you didn't know that just because you watch movies and that's the logical progression of a movie.
Why do they have to do that? Why does it have to get destroyed? Why couldn't it have been disabled? Why couldn't it have...
Because then all the heroes would have died.
There's any number of other outcomes that could have taken place that wouldn't have been the same as the way that A New Hope ended, but they chose to do it the same way. I'm just saying...
my whole thing with the Star Killer base and everything is... at first I was like, damn, they made a base with the same weaknesses, but I was like, no, they built upon the weaknesses of the previous Death Stars. The first one, they assumed that it had an auxiliary port, because a base that size has to have some way of exhaust. So they figured that out, just like the last one. But then they also had the auxiliary shield that they tried to fix with the other Death Star in Return of the Jedi by putting it on another planet. So they knew it had to have an auxiliary shield because that was the revision that they made in the second one. So they combined the two for this one. You know what I mean? So they already had an established game plan of what to expect with this base. So it made a logical planning of attack. I felt at least it justified it. You know what I mean? To rehash some of the same things
I
that they
would just
did in the
think that,
past.
like, if as an engineer, and maybe you can chime into this a little bit better, Topher, but as an engineer, I would think that, like, if you designed product iteration number 1 and it fucking failed miserably, and then you were like, yo, I got this bomb ass iteration number 2 because I've got a shield generator on this other planet and it failed miserably, you wouldn't just combine the two. Like, you would come up with a whole new, like, I mean, I'm just saying, like, I don't think you would do that again. Like, if something turned out shitty twice, why would you make it a third time?
But as a combat engineer sapper, I say blow it up.
I mean,
Just saying.
I
That's my
Demolition.
don't know. I mean, Brian, you have any thoughts on?
No, I was all right with it all.
He gave it an 11. I mean, what problem could he have?
Yeah, that's true. I mean, the only other thing that I didn't really care for, which was far less significant in my mind, was how Rey just kind of intuitively learned to use the Force to a pretty high level.
I do agree with you on that. I thought that
just on the fucking drop of a hat.
if the Force is if you have to start so young in training to learn how to master the Force, I felt like she did a pretty good job on the fucking footnotes of training there. With no training. I felt she did with just picking it up.
Well, I mean, Anakin in the first movie kind of like
was like he was 8 years old when he started training, and they said he was too old.
But
they had question about it then.
True, and the level of Force that he was using was, I thought, portrayed better than how they did it in this one, honestly, was that he just kind of had these notions. He just had quick reflexes and was able to kind of adjust quickly to his feelings. He wasn't like reading people's minds right out the gate. He wasn't.
She wasn't reading
also like
minds.
6 years
She
old.
read Kylo Ren's mind in the first scene that she used the Force.
She felt his feelings. That really read his mind.
It's fucking pretty close.
Don't forget though that Kylo Ren was trying to do the same to her, and she simply turned it on him. She didn't initiate it. Like, you could argue that he opened that link, and she just used it and turned it on him.
She had trouble getting that stormtrooper to let her free.
I don't necessarily think that that's. I mean, maybe I've never been involved in some kind of fucking Jedi mind link situation, but like, if you compare it to fighting, it's easier to throw the first punch than it is to counter punch. I'm just saying, like, I mean, I feel like there's probably some advanced nuances to taking an attack that someone else is hitting you with and turning it around on them. But then, to further my point, it's like
a mental grapple.
Like 5 minutes later, she's convincing a stormtrooper to fucking unshackle her and let her out. And then a half hour after that, she's like mastered lightsabery.
She's been fending off people. Like, we saw her fighting on Jakku with her staff, which, like, she was pretty good at. Like, she's been fighting with that thing her whole fucking life.
Okay.
And it's not like she was like fucking whipping it around like all nimbly bimbly like in the fucking, prequel trilogy with Anakin and Obi-Wan, like they're doing their like fucking saber twirls for days. Like she was just swinging it around like a fucking sword, and she was fighting against a guy who also is not. He's not Sith Lord caliber. He's not like decades of training and whatnot. He's still somewhat of a novice himself.
Plus, he
and
was injured.
yeah, so like I see what you're saying, but I feel like they did a great job of making that work and having it how it actually would be. Like I see your criticisms, but like remember neither of them is really an expert, and she has been defending herself with a weapon her entire life on Jakku. And so the one thing to me that she really did was the mind trick, and she had to try that like 3 or 4 fucking times before she got it right.
Well, no,
You know,
at the end, she was like, they had the big moment where she was like, oh, yeah, the Force. And she, like, closed her eyes, and then it made that fucking noise that in this movie they've, I guess, portrayed as, like, this is the noise that's going to be used when the Force is being used. And then all of a sudden, she was a badass with the lightsaber.
She wasn't like a badass. She was beating him back.
yeah,
She wasn't like twirling, flipping.
I mean, she went from
spinning.
losing, she went from definitely losing to dominating the fight.
I wouldn't say she was ever definitely losing. He was beating her back, but
What
at
movie
no
did
point,
you watch?
and at no point was he ever showing that he was beating her enough that he was going to stab her. She was defending
right before
herself.
she used the Force. I mean, he kind of put the brakes on her.
Yeah.
I mean, I could run at you
the
like
brakes
this.
off of her. Come on.
I could run at you like this and move you back. Doesn't mean I'm winning.
And she was afraid. She was on the defensive, and you know what fear leads to. And she took a moment to calm herself and center her feelings, and then she got her a little bit of strength due to calming herself and tapping into the Force. Like it wasn't like she turned around and then like Force pushed him across the fucking planet, or
again,
or did anything, or she suddenly whipped out some like lightsaber form.
With no training, how does she know that?
How does she know whether to just stop and calm herself and
in the middle of a fight for her life? How does she know that calming herself and tapping into the Force is going to? How?
She said she was purposely trying to tap into the Force. Like she calmed herself because she was on the defensive and she's like upset, and she says, "Okay, she's stealing herself. I need to do this." Take a deep breath. Like people do that in fucking real life without thinking that
somebody pisses you off at work. If somebody pisses you off at work, are you gonna go run at them like, yeah, fuck you? Or are you gonna be like, okay, I'm bigger than that. I'm better than that.
There's a vast difference between someone pissing you off at work and someone being like actually physically attacking you in some way. It is a completely different scenario.
Well, another question.
But you're going to use meditation to calm yourself. You're going to just sit there and calm yourself. You're going to be like, okay.
So, fun fact, because the negativity is wearing on me at this point.
Let the anger flow through you.
Did you know that the stormtrooper in that mind trick scene was Daniel Craig?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. She Jedi mind trick fucking
James Bond.
They were shooting Spectre on the next lot over, and he came over and put on a stormtrooper outfit, and they did that scene with him.
Wow. Wonder how much you made for that.
Probably
nothing. Because you don't see his face and.
Okay, just so that Sith Lord Topher's panties don't get in a bunch. I will talk about some of the things that I did like. I thought that even though he died, Han Solo in this movie was awesome.
Spoiler alert.
I thought it was really cool the way that they brought the fucking Millennium Falcon back into it, and he still kind of had that Han Solo vibe around him. I thought that was one of the biggest highlights of the movie for me, for sure. I don't know about.
Yeah. I liked Han Solo. I actually enjoyed Finn Finn, I thought Finn was an amazing. He was probably my favorite character of all, just because he changed so much just out of his obsession with fucking with Rey. Like
Yeah.
to me, it put a face to stormtroopers. It put a personality and choice to him. Like
Yeah.
I thought he was probably the most amazing character of all.
I thought that
Really?
was a pretty powerful scene at the beginning when they were in that battle and the other stormtrooper died and wiped the blood on his mask. I thought that was a really cool touch to kind of add some realism
Identity.
to it. Yeah. Well, you got to think like they're really in. I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but for sure in the first three there was no blood.
I've never seen
There was no blood.
from a blaster at all. I don't.
I
think.
think when Obi-Wan cuts off the arm of that dude in the cantina, there
Yes.
wasn't like blood splurts.
Okay,
but
but there
his-
was a little
his
bit of blood on
limb
the
was
floor or
bloody.
whatever. Yes, that's right. But I thought that was like kind of a really cool way to like visually kind of tie it to reality. Like, oh shit, there's fucking like that motherfucker's laying there bleeding, suffering, and dying. Like, kind of adds a gravity to that situation. I also thought one other thing that I really liked about that scene was when Kylo Ren stopped the laser bolt in midair and just fucking the fucking bolt was just fucking sitting there the whole scene.
See, that like defies physics, and like nobody's ever been able to do that with the Force before. Like we've never seen a Force user do that, and like I don't get why they had to like do that. I mean, like here's this guy who doesn't really have a whole lot of training, and he could just stop like.
I think
beams of
Topher's making
light
fun of
in
the Fox.
midair.
Yeah, how do I move
like,
him or kick him
You can't.
if he's
Oh,
just
okay,
gonna
I
be
forgot.
stupid about it?
I forgot Fox is the only one allowed to criticize anything.
Okay, my problem with your comment there, and I'll just put it out here, is the fact that I'm offering up my honest opinion of the film. You get ass hurt because my opinion is different than yours and actually has some validity to it. It's not your opinion, it's my opinion. But because it's different from yours, then you have to take my opinions and criticize my opinions.
I find
I have no problem with your opinions.
I wasn't criticizing your opinions at all. You were allowed to have your opinions; they're valid.
So, Brian,
you
what did
both-
you like?
What I
about
was
the movie?
criticizing was
I-
the fact that like you don't ever seem to be able to say positive things about anything. We're like 40 minutes into this, and you've like spewed nothing but negativity.
He did give a positive. He did
Yeah,
say he
finally,
liked
after
it.
40 minutes.
I told you I liked the movie. Everybody, you can go to any fucking podcast out there. You can go to any fucking comic book news site, any CNN, anywhere, Rotten Tomatoes. It's all going to be nothing but fucking
Where did CNN
positive.
come from?
I guarantee you there will be something on CNN's website about Star Wars. I guarantee
I
you.
You know what? I did listen to
And I
a.
guarantee it'll be positive.
I did listen to a radio talk show on the way home from work yesterday, and I can't remember who was talking, but the guy was like, "Yeah, I've never seen a Star Wars film. Like, I don't know. Like, I don't get what all the hype." I'm just like, "Oh my god, why am I listening to this?"
I'm just saying it's
And that guy's
everywhere right now,
ISIS.
and
Yeah.
everywhere is positive. So what's wrong with being honest about how you feel about something? If there's a couple of negative points, what's
'Cause
wrong
hate
with
leads to
leading?
anger.
What's wrong
I
with
have-
leading with a couple of negative points about a film that we've all been looking forward to? It's just constructive criticism. It's just my opinion. It's just how I felt about that movie. I still like the movie. I said that up front. I said it was a great movie up front. So you saying that I can't say something positive about it is you just simply being closed-minded and not listening to someone when they're talking.
He said you got no nipples.
I mean, there's that part of it as well.
I don't have nipples.
So,
I have criticisms
Let's-
of it too.
oh, all right, Captain Positivity, what did you not like about the movie?
I
Boobs.
mean,
Lack of boobs.
but it's a list of little criticisms, and I would rather give my positive review of the movie than spend a half an hour talking about the things I didn't like.
Talk about them.
The only reason we spent a half an hour talking about the things that I didn't like is because 50% of that time you were trying to debate why it wasn't valid.
It's not valid. Not everybody's thing isn't valid.
Go ahead.
That's why this is an empire ruled with an iron fist.
These aren't the opinions you were looking for.
Apparently they weren't. Go ahead, Topher. Camera's on you.
What do you
The
want to hear?
camera's on all of us, technically.
John Pirate, what did you think of the movie? Likes, dislikes, anything?
I
you
never
wanna
got
talk
to.
about?
I never got to finish mine. Fuck you guys. You guys bitching cut me off.
We'll come back around.
I'm gonna fucking stab
still
you
got
all with
plenty
my
of time.
lightsaber that
I,
I never used once.
At first I thought, it's kind of weird that how everything happens in like okay, they find it in the Star Killer starts charging its fucking weapon. Within 30 minutes, it's gonna be on the base. The base is like, okay, we need a plan. So within 30 minutes, they come up with a plan. They round up formations, make it there with 15 minutes in 15 minutes, and then for 15 minutes they kill it. And I'm thinking like, damn,
That's quick
Like, I
response time.
that's pretty fucking fast. And then I think too, like, well, maybe there's different time zones in the galaxy. Like if you fly across the country, you gain 3 hours. You know what I mean? Like maybe that's the only thing I can think of in
Well, I
the
mean,
entire Star
I
Wars
guess
universe.
that's kind of
They have
logical though,
time-
because they were flying at light speed or faster than light speed, right? Because you see,
I mean, they're
you see them passing stars.
But here's the problem with light speed is that you would still continue to age. Like, you know what I mean? Like, so if something's like 6 million light years away, you know what I mean? Like your body still has to age.
6 million years.
Right.
You get there at light
You know
speed.
what I mean? Yeah, like it's like
it's
wait
a
a minute.
fantasy movie. It's not reality. I mean,
And I get I get that. That's not my problem. It's just one of the thoughts I had that I've never thought about in the entire time I've watched Star Wars. Until they put an actual minutes thing on it in this one, and I was just like,
Huh.
hold the fuck up. Wait a minute. I looked at my watch even like
Did
wait
they
a
make
minute.
mention in any of the other ones about that?
I
About
think
stuff
they
like that?
I don't think they actually put minutes on it until they got to the actual like
Like
on
they
it.
were there in front of it. And
Yeah, they're like it's gonna be it's gonna be like weaponized in 10 minutes or something like that. I think that was in Return of the Jedi.
I never noticed that.
But it was like 30 minutes. The dude's like, it'll be charged in 30 minutes. And then they're like, the weapon's charging. We have 30 minutes. And then they make the attack plan. They come up with they're even system checking their shit. Like you see them on the X-Wings, like fucking PMC in their shit and fucking Ray or Finn's loading up explosives in the Millennium Falcon. And it's like, okay, then they get there with 15 minutes to spare. Like, what? Like you
What-
should. Huh?
What I didn't get about that scene was where's the Resistance getting their information from? Did they have a mole in the First Order or something? Because
yeah,
they would
Finn
they
gave
would
it to
start
them.
they would
Finn
start
gave it to
char-
them.
no,
Yeah.
but I mean
Before
yeah,
that, you
Finn
mean?
gave him no, I'm talking about Finn gave him the information about what it is and how it works, but when they start charging it, you hear the First Order say, we're charging the weapon, it'll be ready in this amount of time. Like all of a sudden they're like, the Resistance has their meeting and they're like, okay, battle plan, like they're charging it, it's going to be done in about this amount of time, and this is their next target. How did they know?
Well, if something that big is charging its battery from a sun, I think they know
Yeah.
they're gonna
And
charge.
they know how long it's going to take and what their target's going to be?
Yeah,
How did they
I
get
would say they
on
would
what
know.
their target is?
Finn
I'm
probably
gonna
gave them the
actually-
shit on that.
I'm actually
that
going
one
to agree
did-
with Topher on this one. I agreed with Brian that they would know that it's charging, but how in the fuck would you know if it's got 5 minutes or 16 hours left to charge? Like,
Yeah,
Finn told
when
them
they were
how long
sitting
it
there,
takes.
when they were sitting there in that, like, that was one of the things that I was like, hold on, wait a second, because when they were like, and we know this is its next target, how?
like how do you know what? Yeah, yeah, I do remember them saying that, and me kind of quite like, wait a minute, how do you know that they're what they're targeting? I don't know. I mean, I don't.
The other,
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was gonna say the other little things for me was probably my my biggest disappointment with the movie was the fact that I was right before we got there like 2 hours ahead of time, and then about 5 minutes before it started, I went out to the lobby to go pee before the movie started, and get a drink and some food. And while I was standing there in line waiting for my fucking food, two of the workers there were
Talking
while they
about
were
the
getting my
movie.
food together, the one starts talking to the one, talking to the other guy, and he's like, yeah, he's like, so apparently, he's like, Kylo Ren is Han Solo's son, and the guy's like, what? He's like, no, he's like, it's Han Solo's son. He's like, how do you know that? He's like, dude, he's like, it's Han Solo's son, and Han Solo dies. And he's like, dude, that better not be true, or I'm gonna fucking kill you. And I'm standing there like at the counter, looking at him like we're 5 minutes before the first showings of this start, and theater employees are talking about the outcome of the fucking movie while there are customers standing in line.
Did you say something to him? I'd have went off.
Fuck. No, dude, I honestly
I would've
assumed
said some
that
shit.
he was just making shit up to fuck with the guy.
I would have
I-
said
like-
some shit for sure.
Oh,
I'd have went off, dude.
well, I mean, like, wasn't gonna fucking like just go off on him right because I didn't know that it was true. Like, I assumed he was just making shit up because how would he have known? Like, they hadn't started showing it yet, so I feel
Because
But
like
that's-
this is just
that's
some kid
something-
who's
get to show
They
like
get to see it beforehand.
they
They
get
have
to
to
see it
test it. They have to-
7 a.m.s and midnight
Yeah,
showings.
they
before-
test it fucking before the.
Oh, but also that's been a rumor ever since the movie showed its
That-
first
yeah, well,
trailer.
that's-
right. But I mean, I thought he was just speculating. I thought he
Yeah.
was just like making shit up to like
That's kind of
like
fucked
it was
up.
it was
I
two
mean,
guys
I
working
figure-
there. And like I thought they were just giving each other shit, and like he was just making stuff up. And so like I was like, okay, well, I hope he was just giving him shit. But then once they revealed the his parentage, I'm like, oh, you got to be fucking kidding me.
I'd have
So
walked
then
out, got another bag of
so then
popcorn, refill, and punched
when-
him in the face.
yeah, when the later scene was coming up, I'm like, God fucking damn it.
Here it comes.
Like I was kind of, it was hard. Like I'm really frustrated because I missed out on the conflicted feelings of trying to figure out like whether they
What
were
was
actually
going-
gonna
yeah.
because I was more focused on being pissed over the fact that like I
You
know
knew
this
what
is going
was
to
gonna
happen
happen.
now, and I'm pissed that I'm not experiencing it the way I should because I know the outcome because that little motherfucker spoiled it. So that was my biggest
I
disappointment.
want to go
with the movie.
punch him in the dick.
But
Yeah,
Honestly,
throat punch
like-
Thursday.
Let's go get that
Yeah.
motherfucker.
Let's ride on these fools.
the one thing I was really surprised about was Captain Phasma. I was a little disappointed with
Not
the way
much
she was
coverage
used
there.
in that
Yeah.
film. Like she had she's going to be a bigger role in the next movie,
Yeah.
or at least in some form going forward. I get that, and so I guess this was more of an introduction, but like she's definitely been made out to be a slightly bigger character, more important character. And she's in the movie for all of like 13 seconds.
Yeah,
She got a
not
couple
much.
speaking lines, and then the next time you see her, it's like, oh, this is gonna be a badass fight, epic confrontation. Something's gonna happen. Nope, they just hold her at gunpoint, and she like immediately gives up and
Shits her
shuts
pants
down the
and-
shield so that they can blow up the entire base that she's like the captain of.
They never did that
Oh.
in the movies.
That's
Huh?
true. I don't think they
That's
never
true.
took hostages.
That's true.
They never had somebody
So
just.
how about this for a fucking
Oh.
funny Star Wars story? So just Wednesday, I was talking with was playing some Call of Duty with Pirate, and I was like, man, he was talking about how he was going to see the movie on Friday, and I was like, man, I really wish we were seeing it. Blah blah blah. We just didn't we've been on vacation, and then had a family member pass away, and just time kind of slipped away and just didn't really look into getting tickets and everything, and assumed that the theaters were going to be completely booked everywhere. And he was like, no, we just got tickets like just the other day. And I was like, well, you know what, I'll check the theater that just opened right near my house. It's one of the luxury theaters that has like the reclining seats and shit. And the first showing I checked was sold out. The second one was maybe 50% sold out, and this is for Friday evening, opening weekend. And I was like looking at the seats. I was like, well, fuck it, I'll buy some tickets for that. And so I'm on Fandango. I've never used Fandango for anything before, but this particular theater doesn't use movietickets.com. It just uses Fandango. I don't know why, whatever. So I'm looking at the theater map, and there's like that row where how there's always like the wide walk-in row, and the front row of seats is typically handicap seats. Well, on the map, they had handicap seats marked with the little handicap signals or symbols in the seats. But in that same row, there was like 2 sets of 2 that were not marked as handicapped. And I was like, oh, well, those are probably, I don't know, like maybe those are like premier seating. That's like a prime seating location where it's good to view the film from. And like, maybe they just do it different. I've never been to this fucking theater or anything. So I fucking snag up the 2 of those that are not marked. Well, fucking lo and behold, we get there and go in, and fucking they're marked right on the seat with the big fucking handicap, like wheelchair sign right on the fucking seat and everything. So I'm like, well, fuck, I'm sure this is sold out. Like, I feel terrible. So we went out and actually talked to the guy, like the supervisor or whatever on duty, and just told him, I was like, look, this shit was not marked on Fandango, but like, clearly I'm not handicapped. Like, what are, like, are there other seats we can trade them for, or like? And he was just like, no, go ahead and sit in them. Like, if somebody comes that needs those seats, then we'll try and figure something out for you. But so we ended up getting like fucking super good seats, but it was kind of a fucking, I don't know, sitting there before the movie, I was like, is everybody judging me right now?
The other day, I ran out to Chipotle for lunch, and there were like no parking spaces,
and then
in
like the handicap spot.
And then, this SUV pulled out of one like right by the fucking door, and I'm like, awesome! Like, there's a prime spot. And as soon as she pulled out, like I was bam right in. And I'm like, yeah, I got a spot right by the door. And I walked back out, and as I was pulling out of the spot, I saw in my rearview mirror that it was a fucking handicap spot. I'm like, oops.
Doesn't that just make you feel kind of just dirty?
It really did.
Just kind of shitty.
Well, because there was somebody else like waiting for my spot as I was coming out, and like they looked at me, and like I started to pull out, and like she kind of like waved or something. Like, I don't know if she was saying like, yeah, go ahead, or like, I'm trying to wait for your spot. But then she drove off, and she was like, then I was like driving away thinking, was she like fucking like flagging me down like, hey asshole, you parked in a fucking handicap spot? I'm like, I'm sorry, I didn't know.
Yeah, that was the exact feeling that I had. I was like, damn, I didn't mean to buy these fucking seats. Like, there was plenty of other seats open. Like, when I bought my tickets, right. I could have bought, but I just didn't know. So, let's go through. We've talked about shit that we, didn't agree with or minor irritate. I call them minor irritations, even though we argued about them for half an hour, like Topher said, because the movie across the board, I think, is a 9+ on average from all of us. So, what was your favorite part of the movie, Brian?
My favorite part of the movie was the whole movie, because fuck that shit, I loved it all. Like, not even joking.
Fuck you. Pick a favorite part.
My favorite part is when you fucking at the end when Luke pops up. When they get to Luke. And he's just sitting there with his badass long hair and his robe on, like all Jesus-like, his robot hand that he probably was masturbating with and gave himself a little dick rash.
All right, and Topher. What was your favorite part of the movie that doesn't involve dick rash?
Everything involves dick rash.
Does it have to be my favorite scene, or can it be my favorite aspect of the movie?
Anything. What did you like about the movie the most?
What I really liked about the movie was I thought they did a phenomenal job of handling the old characters and the new. You've got, the big three, and Chewbacca. Let's not forget Chewbacca. I was really afraid that it was going to be, like a cameo kind of thing, or like a clear passing of the baton, like, oh no, we're too old for this, like it's in your hands now, and like, and like that kind of deal. And it wasn't. Those characters were a very important part of the storyline. Like, where's Luke? We got to find him. Now, we did find him at the end, and he's probably going to be a bigger part of the second movie in training. And, Leia is the a general in the Resistance and important diplomatic things, and she's still directing people and planning, you know,
I would argue that
these
Harrison Ford was the
operations,
star of the
and
movie.
Harrison Ford was like fucking they're front and center for damn near all of it.
He
You
was
know,
pretty
like
much the star of the movie, really.
yeah.
I mean-
So I mean, I thought they did a phenomenal job of handling their roles in the movie, not feeling like, you know, we're moving on away from them, but still having other characters be at the forefront of the story. It felt very fluid and natural to have the older characters in the roles that they were in, doing what they were doing. It just felt like natural progressions for those characters. It's exactly what I feel like they would be doing at this point in the storyline. And the newer characters fit so well into that storyline and the things they did, and you know, the way, like, it didn't feel like a changing of the guard. It felt like an expanding of the family, and I can't describe how well I thought they handled both the new characters and the old.
Well, fuck you for coming up with a better answer than me.
What about
Dude, but that scene at Luke was the bomb at the
what about you, Pirate?
Um,
It's a tough one to follow.
favorite scene. Yeah.
Doesn't have to be favorite scene. Just what did you like about the movie the most? It could have been the
Like I
fucking
said,
build up. It could have been anything.
I liked Finn, man. I thought Finn and Poe Dameron or Dameron or whatever his name is.
Dameron.
Dameron.
Yeah, dude, he's a fucking badass, dude.
I like that guy. I like that
Yeah.
guy a lot.
Everything about him. He's just. I think that dude. There's so much room for that dude to be like a star in this upcoming films that it's. I think he's definitely going to be the next Han Solo, like the off the handle pilot that's just, you know, crazy enough to get the job done by himself.
Well, I mean, he is Apocalypse.
What?
He's
In
Apocalypse in the
That's the
X-Men
actor
movie.
who plays.
Oh, really? I
Apocalypse,
didn't know
yeah.
that.
I didn't realize that.
But also, like, you know, the whole, like, when he first meets Finn and, you know, gives him his name, he's like, "Can you shoot?" And the first thing in my mind is, he's a fucking stormtrooper. Of course he can't. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
the whole thing, I'm thinking, like, you're gonna ask a stormtrooper if he can shoot, like, you know. But I think Finn's character was just, I think it was just amazing, and I think he was my favorite part of the movie. Just the way he just created and just unfolded and completely turned himself around, like, from beginning to that character's to the end of the movie. Like, it shows him in his coma. You know?
I loved that dude's energy. Like,
Yeah.
everything. He was just fucking gung ho about it. And I liked the fact that you had a guy who was a great pilot. You know, like, that's a role that in and of itself didn't exist. You know, they've been trying to. You've got the Jedi role, kind of got like the soldier role. Like, you didn't have a main character in the originals that was just a pilot, and that was their thing. That was what they did. Like, you had good pilots, but they did other shit.
Well, you had
Like, I
Porkins.
love- Right.
What was
You know,
Red 5 though?
I mean, Wedge Antilles probably would be.
Wedge was
best,
probably the closest.
Luke was Red 5.
Or yeah, Wedge, yeah. No,
But,
was he
you
Red
know,
5?
Pretty
Wedge was
sure.
Red 1.
Red Leader.
Red
yeah.
Leader, yeah. Okay.
You know, I like that they have a character, because like the ace pilot, like, that's such a character prototype in, like, you know, like in Star Wars and everything else that's not the movies. And so to just have somebody who's, you know, like the awesome pilot in this was, I thought that was cool. And yeah, his energy is ridiculous. Bringing up comics for a second on a comic book podcast.
What?
How dare you on Star
I
Wars
read
Week?
before the movies, the day before, I read the Shattered Empire 4-part miniseries that's supposed to be like kind of like an appetizer for Force Awakens, and they deal with Poe's parents in that, actually. So you might be interested in checking that out.
For me, the big things that I really enjoyed the most was, for starters, kind of playing into what Brian said, not
Dick Rash.
necessarily the scene where she finds Luke, but the build up, the anticipation, the weight, the gravity of that situation that they added.
2 minute
to
and
it.
26-second stair climb.
Well, yeah, that was a little ridiculous. I didn't really care for that, but just the gravity that they put around the importance of finding him and him as a character, I thought that was really cool. I thought that really added to the mythos of Luke Skywalker. And then I really like Rey as a character. I thought she was funny.
I loved Rey.
I thought she was a badass at times. I thought she was compassionate. I thought she.
You mean Luke's daughter?
We're gonna get into that.
Yes.
We're gonna get into that next. I thought she was really awesome, especially playing off of the BB-8 droid. I loved the BB-8 droid, and those two together, BB-8 and Rey together, I thought were really at times funny, at times kind of charming.
Ooh,
It
Doug
was-
found a robot charming.
It was awesome. Like those. That's nice. Awesome. Is that the stuffed one? Yeah. Those
is
were
not
those
the
were the
Doug.
things that I really liked about the movie, or the most anyway. There was plenty that I liked about the movie. Let's talk what you just said. Let's talk about what you just said, Brian. You're of the group of people that feel like. Actually, let's take a break real quick, and we'll come
I
right
mean,
back.
the group of people that are right.
Okay, and we're back after a little bit. What are you
Blah,
doing?
blah, 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 blah.
Yes, I can't talk, and I was distracted by Topher over here playing with his lightsaber.
You wouldn't be
That
distracted
thing looks
by Topher, but-
super awesome on camera. I'm not gonna lie to you. Anyway, so we were talking about Rey and
I dropped the
Brian
golden sun.
and apparently Topher are of the thought that Rey is Luke Skywalker's daughter. That's what you're thinking?
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
it could be his son,
Why?
Caitlyn Jenner.
Why? What makes you think that that's Luke Skywalker's daughter?
But because it is, because
Okay, you have no
This-
proof, so we'll start there.
because
I agree with Brian because
There's
because
tons of
she
proof.
is.
because
You have evidence,
hold on.
maybe.
Let me catch my
but
breath.
You have no proof.
she was Luke and
Swallow
Anakin's
first.
lightsaber called to her. When Kylo Ren was doing his little Force mind read thing, he saw the island that obviously we saw her flying to find Luke at the end. So somehow she's connected to him,
Okay.
and you can't say it's because it's his Luke's niece, because
Why not?
Kylo-
That's connection.
Kylo-
That's a connection. That's a
Kylo-
family connection.
then why couldn't Kylo see it? The island.
Because he
In
turned to the dark
premonition.
side.
What does that have to do
Maybe
with
Luke
being
is
something?
reaching out to her. Maybe
Then why are they both doing derp face at the end?
they're not doing derp face at the end. That's the dumbest. If that's honestly your
Which is like,
evaluation of,
he's like,
if that's your evaluation of why you think she is his daughter, then your argument is just.
well, you
has
guys
no
are gonna,
fucking-
you guys are, let me spoil alert, you guys are about to say that it's Kylo Ren's sister. Why does Leia and Han not recognize her?
I don't think it's that they don't
I don't
recognize
think
her.
That's exactly it.
I don't think they want to let her know that she has the capabilities to be what Kylo Ren has become.
I think that she's younger than Kylo Ren. I think that they saw what happened with Kylo Ren, and they decided at a young age, 5 years old, 4 years old, whatever, that they
It
didn't
should
want to
be
send
safer on
they-
a Animask planet
that
rather
they-
than
that they
in their
didn't-
care with the entire resistance.
that they didn't want her to go down the same path as him, so they sent her off.
I mean, I agree. There's holes in both sides of this coin. So, I mean, I'm with Fox on this. I think that it's the younger sister. I think it's Kylo Ren's younger sister. And that, they said they didn't want to see her become what he had become or be used as a weapon against them. Like
Or
Snoke
lose them.
used Kylo Ren or used Ben. And so they said, okay, we're going to put her here. It'll be fine.
I think the
Because
biggest
it
thing,
showed her in care. Well, not really. It showed her with like a fucking traitor. or something. Like she basically got
Yeah,
traded. So
it
maybe
wasn't.
she's not. I don't know.
Fox, do you want her to be Han and Leia's daughter?
I don't necessarily want either. It's just what I think is. I don't have like. I don't really. I think
Is it like
I think it'd be good
I hope
either
this is
way.
how it goes?
No, I think it could be good either way. I'm saying like with what I've seen and the way I felt about what I've seen, I think that makes a lot more sense to me based on what has already happened. I don't think that like part of what makes that argument stronger in my opinion is the lack of evidence towards Luke, not necessarily the evidence towards her being Kylo Ren's sister, but the lack of evidence and the lack of plot line around her being Luke's daughter. Do you really think that they would just make him have an entire relationship that was long enough for him to have a child, something happen, and drop it off with? There's been no mention to Luke ever having a relationship with any woman, period.
There've been no
There's been
nothing
no what?
No
known
indication
about.
that he hasn't.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the only thing you know is that he tried to start a new Jedi Order, and that's it. And then
Well,
he
but
went off to hide.
Isn't a way of the Jedi like not to have a relationship?
But
like
he's not a
that-
real.
It wasn't
But
the
I'm
old
saying,
Republic.
do you think that
Yeah.
they would leave something that big? Do you really think that they would just make that happen completely between movies, make no mention of it whatsoever in the next chronological step forward in the movie process? Or does it make more sense that the two characters, that one has a connection to the Force, the other's a main character, they have a known relationship, already had one child, a child that turned out bad, and then another child that they potentially tried to protect? Seems like that is a much more
Not at
feasible
all.
step than
I think we have to have another,
a character that has had no known relationships, has had no mention of children, has had no mention of love interests whatsoever, has in between films found a love interest, made a baby, something happened, we don't know, to the woman. There has to be a mother in this scenario.
But
obviously.
look how
No
old she
mention.
was in the flashbacks when she's getting lost.
And then
left
he
at-
got rid of the child all between films.
But so you're saying that she doesn't remember Han and Leia are her parents, but in the flashbacks when she gets left at Jakku, she's old enough to remember. She's not a baby where she's not going to remember.
But
her
also,
parents.
Okay,
look how think how Han Solo acted around her. Think how Han Solo, like that's what made me think that it might have been his daughter, is because when she mentioned where she had been and where she was from, and that how he automatically changed his demeanor around her.
And they were extremely similar. They're finishing each other's sentences. She has the engineering capabilities that he has, the intuitive fixing, like, oh, I did, to fix the light drive, you have to do blah 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 blah, and they finish
Anakin,
and they finish the same sentence the same way, which is a trait that was specific
they both
to him.
knew the same thing.
It was a trait that was specific to him in the earlier movies, because that vessel was engineered around his personality. I'm just saying, it fits a lot tighter. It's a lot smaller step to say that she's Han Solo and Leia's daughter than to say that there was this love interest, this wife potentially, whatever, that the mother of the child that had the child, disappeared, gave the child away, all between, and there's no known connections between.
Tell
those
me,
two characters.
what other two characters like her knew how to fix ships right away and knew how to fly them great? There's two other characters within all 6 movies, well 7 now, that knew how to do stuff like that.
Not the Millennium Falcon. That's the point. That's my point, though.
Yeah,
Ships,
it's still a ship.
Ships, yes, but when Luke got onto the Millennium Falcon, he didn't understand it.
How many other ships do you know ran the Kessel Run in 12 parsecs?
That's what I'm saying. I'm just
I
saying.
can't think of
I
any
think-
other one.
They made
I
a
think
point.
this is
they
gonna
make
be
a point-
another
They make a
comic book
point to
nerd nation bet.
separate the Millennium Falcon
Like-
from your average starship because it's done different, because it's home rigged by Han Solo. They make a point to flag that out early on in the movies.
And they also call out the fact that she's a junker, she's a scavenger on this planet for years. Like she's like made her she eats by being able to scavenge parts off of starships. Like, how would she not know how to fiddle her way around it? Plus, listen to all the things she said about the modifications that the dude on Jakku had made to the ship. So it's not like she's a stranger to it and she just figures it out. She has experience with that vessel because she knows what the dude on the planet's been doing to it. It's not necessarily natural talent, and even if it is natural talent, like, of course she's going to have that living on that planet for that long.
Okay, well,
So you've got two groups of possible parents. One, who make a point, who are present in the movie, have a strong presence in the movie, and have a child, and talk about the importance of reconnecting with that child, and
they also
making sure
talk
that
about how devastating it was when something went wrong with that child. I think that's an important point to note in your argument. I'm just saying.
When she was left
You
on
already know-
Jakku, she was old enough to remember. Sorry, Chris.
you already noted that. I was
Go ahead.
noting my points now.
All right.
So you've got one possible group of parents who was in the movie and had dialogue with her, met her, would probably recognize their own fucking daughter, or at least she'd recognize her own fucking parents. And they have all these scenes and no mention is ever made of it. Or is it more likely that the parents who left her are people who think it's important to disappear and go into exile and are the main characters of the entire fucking movie and of the prequel of the
Okay.
other trilogies,
Who's the other
and
character?
are extremely force sensitive?
Who's the other half of your equation then? Who's the mother? You said
We don't know, but here's the thing.
How could they leave that out? How could they?
They
just
left a
leave
lot
it
of
They
stuff
left
out.
Luke out of the entire fucking movie.
didn't.
They left out.
He does
they
have
left,
a point.
They mentioned.
They left out his Jedi Order that
They,
he's.
they
whole point,
mentioned.
Bart.
They mentioned Luke from the jump. They don't leave him out
No,
of any of the movie.
Dude, I'm not saying. Yeah, I'm saying screen time, conversations. How many
Okay.
conversations does Luke have with Rey in the
Okay,
movie?
How many times is Luke mentioned in the movie? How many times is Luke's
That's
activity
not- you're
in the
missing my
time
point. That's
between
not
the
my
movies
point.
mentioned?
Yeah, he's
in the
That is
missing
movie?
not what I'm saying. That is
No,
not what I'm saying at all.
You're skirting around my entire argument.
No,
No, I'm not, because listen to what I'm saying. How many times did Rey talk with Han and Leia in the movie? Versus how many times did Rey
handful.
talk with Luke? You can't say that, well, we don't know, there's no evidence for it. Of course not, because they haven't told that story yet. We've seen Han and Leia's story. We've seen their interaction with Rey. If there was something there, it would have been covered already. You're saying, where's the other half of the equation? The point is, that's the story they're going to tell. We're going to find out because we already know Han and Leia's side of the story. It can't be their daughter. They've had conversations. It's already fucking happened. They've met. It's not them.
You
They've
can't
already
say that it
covered.
can't
And they left out.
We
they left out
know-
a ton.
We know what Han and Leia have been doing all this time because they keep talking about it. What Luke has been doing since the end of Return of the Jedi
No
has
one
been
knows.
largely a mystery. They haven't said. So when you say we don't know whether there's a mother, exactly. And that's the strongest argument for it because we don't know what Luke's been up to. We do know what Han and Leia have been up to. They've covered that story, and Rey doesn't fit into it. They haven't covered Luke's story, and that's the best reason why she's more likely to be his daughter than Han and Leia's because they haven't told that part of the story yet.
And look at her backstory too. She's on a desert planet.
I changed my
Like
mind.
like what like
It's
what
Obi-Wan's granddaughter.
like what Fox said.
I mean,
Like
I thought of that too.
they did word for they copied a lot of the old movie. Rey's story is more like Luke's story than anybody else's. She was on this planet to fend for herself. She happened some God knows what pushed her story into getting on a ship and finally leaving that planet.
Deadpool was after her.
I don't know. I just don't think that. I think there's too many too many breaks in the story. There's too many gaps as far as
The story's not
what's
over.
been
Also,
discussed. You're talking about so you're talking about like how many discussions Luke has had, how many leaving Luke out of the story. They didn't. Luke was in the story from the very beginning of the movie.
he wasn't.
I
From the
agree.
very beginning of the movie.
His
they
name
were
was in the
talking
story.
That's not what
about-
I'm saying.
Listen to me. From the very beginning of the movie, they were talking about what he was doing since episode 6. That was a huge part of the plot, was what was happening with Luke since episode 6. That's undeniable. They're trying to track him. He trained Kylo Ren. Kylo Ren turned bad, and he decided that was time for him to then go. And since then, they've been trying to track him. That's what Luke has been doing. They covered that.
Yes.
They covered that in depth.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I agree with you.
So why is it? How can you see it as an illogical leap that if his sister, Luke's sister, Leia, has 2 children, for the sake of argument, has 2 children, one older than the other. The older one develops to the age where he's ready to start training in the Force with Uncle Luke, turns to the dark side, and the younger daughter, they determined, you know what? It's probably not a good thing for her to see what her older brother is getting into, what's happening to him. We're gonna hide her away so this isn't a path that she travels down that could potentially unravel the entire rebellion.
I agree. That is an amazingly
logical,
convincing argument.
It's not logical at all.
Up until the point that she meets them and there's no familial recognition.
It's not logical at all. Here's why.
Hold on.
Here's why.
No,
because we saw the flashback where she was left on the planet, what age she was when she was left on the planet.
Did they say an age? Did they say a number?
No, they showed her. So
you can accurately tell me how old was she? How old was she?
I don't know. The age doesn't matter.
So you
know how old she was. How can she forget what her brother looks like? How could he forget what she looks like?
Maybe she never met her brother. Maybe her brother was already off training before she was was an infant.
They're not that age difference.
How do you know?
Because look how young she was.
How old's Kylo Ren?
She could be 16 she could be 16 years old and Kylo Ren could be 28. That's a 12-year difference.
It's not a matter of age difference between her and Kylo Ren. It's a matter of the fact that she was old enough in that scene to remember what her parents look like.
Yeah.
She sees Han and Leia, and there is no conversation about, oh my God, are you guys my parents? It never happened.
You've never heard of people going through something traumatic and forgetting about something?
You never went through anything traumatic.
That's not scientific fact.
We haven't seen the initial conversation between her and Luke yet. And so we can't rule that one out yet. I'm not saying Luke is definitely her father, and I'm not saying that there aren't a lot of good arguments as to why she wouldn't be Han and Leia's daughter. But I'm saying at this point it seems more likely that she's Luke's daughter because she's had too many interactions with Han and Leia where it wasn't set up that way.
Here's why I think, and I think Pirate will agree with me, here's why I think that the whole she's had conversations with Han and Leia argument doesn't hold water, because they've seen the path that their son went down. They know that Rey does not know that Kylo Ren is her brother. She's just discovering the Force. They don't want to expose her to the attractiveness of power and all of these temptations that her brother has. Look at how powerful her brother has. Her brother is out there with a group of people that's fucking blowing up planets and shit, and he's calling the shots. Okay?
Well,
so why would they say, oh, that bad dude over there, he's your brother and you have all the same fucking powers as him? You could do everything he could do.
Another reason that makes me think that they're siblings is because Kylo Ren killed off all the other apprentices that was training with him with Luke, but he yet goes in and decides to take Rey of all people under his wing and says, "Let me train you." You know, it's kind of like the whole. I don't know, man. It's kind of like the whole Darth Vader Luke scenario where it's like, you're my blood. Let me train you. In the
Well, they're still blood.
Well,
If
they're
you said,
still
"Oh,
okay.
Skywalker."
They're still blood if they're cousins, but still.
I mean, that's your same.
You know?
That's the opposite of your same argument about how she couldn't feel the lightsaber calling to her because it was her uncle's.
Have you
That's
guys
still
read?
blood too.
Yeah, the thing is, and that's another sticking point why these arguments are a lot closer to each other than any of us would probably like to admit. Like even if it's not like whichever one that those are her parents, the other one would be her aunt, aunt and uncle.
Right,
You know,
it's
like
blood- it's a
Kylo
blood
Ren's either
relation regardless.
brother
Right.
or cousin. Like they're so close to each other.
Skywalker blood
It almost
is
doesn't matter which one she is.
right.
You know, but clearly she has. I don't see how she's not a Skywalker
Oh, she's
descendant
gotta
because I mean you've got the prequel trilogies are all about Anakin. The original trilogy is all about Luke. Like it's generations of Skywalkers. Like it has to be a fucking Skywalker. There's like no way around it. Have you guys read any of the Star Wars expanded universe novels that take place like
I have not.
later
Yeah.
after
Aren't
Return
those,
of the
aren't
Jedi?
those the ones where Han and Leia have twins? Brother and
Yeah.
sister?
So they have
So
and
hashtag
Luke
the
also
same.
has Luke also has a child in those actually named Ben. So yeah, Han and Leia have a pair of twins, a boy and a girl, Jaina and Jason, and then they have another son later on that they name Anakin.
Anakin.
Jayla
and,
and Jason,
um,
kind of like Ren and Ray.
A little
What?
bit.
Throwing that out there.
A little bit. But well, except Kylo Ren's real name is Ben, which was actually Luke's son's name in the books. So, but I was really torn when they started announcing, the new movies because, like, on the one hand, new movies, that's fucking awesome. On the other hand, it means like all these books and everything that I enjoyed,
No longer.
like are no longer canon. They're no longer valid. They're kind of being thrown out in a way. And so like, but from that standpoint, I honestly feel like they did a really good job of not. I mean, obviously they can't tell those stories. It's not going to follow the same plots. But kind of the feel of the universe post Return of the Jedi, they didn't completely change it either. Like you still have, some sort of Imperial remnant around.
Yeah.
You still have, Luke and Leia, like getting older. Luke starting over the Jedi Order. The Legacy of the Force series, that was one of the latest book series written after Return of the Jedi. It actually has Han and Leia's son Jason he was being trained as a Jedi. He turns to the dark side and becomes a Sith Lord and turns on everybody and causes all kinds of havoc in the galaxy. And the New Republic government blames Luke and the Jedi Order for allowing it to happen, and Luke goes into exile. So there's a lot of parallels with the books, even though they're not telling the exact same story.
Doesn't he
and
go
it's-
turn to the
and
dark
it's-
side because they drop a planet on fucking
I
Chewie?
mean, well, no, actually, the Chewie thing happened way earlier. Like, it's interesting that there are parallels there. And in the books, you've got Jaina, Han and Leia's daughter, who is Jason's,
Isn't she trained by the
sister
Mandalorians to
who-
fight him?
who has to confront him about it. So I mean, like, there's arguments to be made both ways, but I mean, I think we could all agree that she's probably got Skywalker blood.
Oh, for sure, 100%.
Although I do like the point that John made that it's Obi-Wan's granddaughter. That would be interesting. You had Obi-Wan training Luke, and now you have Luke possibly training Obi-Wan's descendant, and she's got the whole British accent thing.
She's too young.
Obi-Wan was a British accent thing.
She's too young.
What if fucking like Luke willed some bitch to get pregnant?
It was the will of the Force. The midichlorians made it happen.
We
Yeah.
need more Republicans
exactly.
fucking Star Wars.
There you go, Doug. There was no mother.
It could be.
It was the will of the
Maybe.
Force.
I don't know.
I mean,
No, there
Anakin
was a
didn't have
mother, but there wasn't
Anakin
a
didn't
son.
have a father.
I'm not
There-
saying that
There wasn't a mother. I can't explain it.
I'm
He carried
kinda-
her.
I'm
He
kinda
raised
with-
her.
I'm kind of with. I mean, I'm definitely
calling
think
her a
that,
doo-doo
that
baby?
she's Han Solo and Leia's daughter, but I will agree with Topher in the fact that I'm not ruling out the possibility by any stretch of the imagination that she could be Luke's daughter too. I think that possibility is definitely still open. It's far from like signed, sealed, and delivered. I just think that's the direction that it's leaning. That would offer a lot more drama in the long run. Kind of family drama, brother versus sister, that kind of stuff.
When I left the theater, I thought it was I was saying that it was Kylo Ren's sister, that it was Han and Leia's daughter. But the more I thought about it, the more I thought I don't know. It just doesn't seem to fit with what we know from this movie. Like it seems more likely that it's some stuff that hasn't been revealed yet. It's probably that's more part of Luke's story. But we don't know yet.
I just don't think Luke's gonna be. I think he'll probably do one more movie and that'll be it. In all honesty, like I don't see Mark Hamill doing more than one, maybe two more, and then that'll be he'll be done. He'll just,
2 more would be like the close of it.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but they're gonna do a bunch of other side movies and all kinds.
Those
of
are
other
going to be
shit.
like origin movies, like
Yeah,
individual
they're gonna be-
There are
They're not gonna-
tie-ins.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
They're not
Not
like
like-
So, well, maybe he will finish out the trilogy. I don't know.
I mean, I have a feeling he may die in the next one and then be like the Force essence, like Obi-Wan was.
I could see something like that too.
But
So, well, that's about it for this episode. I'm Fox 2. We got Pirate,
may the Force be with you.
Topher.
I don't have another line to use. That would have been good. May the Force be with you is a pretty good one. I like that one. Let's go with that one.
Don't get cocky, kids.
There you go.
Oh.
Nice. We'll see you later.